Before I get started with the story, let me give a shout out to Trill, Texas for sending this story to me. And this is more of an update to a story I actually talked about 2 years ago, back in 2020, where you had this individual by the name of Marc Wilson, who you see right here in the picture, who was involved in a shooting that was clearly self-defense. And they tried to use, or he tried to, and his attorney tried to use the stand your ground law in his defense. But of course, you know, that doesn't work or bode well for black people. And it involved an incident of, I guess you could say, road rage. And he ended up firing his gun to somebody, and it ended up killing this PC woman by the name of Haley Hutchinson. I think that was her last name, but I'm going to read the article just to be sure. But as you can see right here, it says an April trial set for biracial man in fatal highway shooting. I'm trying to figure out when did the label of biracial come up? Because when I first came across this story back in 2020, I don't remember them labeling him as biracial. So I'm trying to figure out where is this coming from and why is it coming up all of a sudden, as if it really means anything. Because even if, let's hypothetically say he's biracial, he's still getting the black treatment. And I've told people before, stand your ground. When's the last time that's ever worked for a black person? I said that has to be one of the most PC made laws on the books. The first time I heard about stand your ground was with George Zimmerman, and it's been hell on earth ever since, especially when it came to black people. I've always found that it works against black people rather than for. And this is a black man, as far as I'm concerned, who used or tried to use stand your ground in self-defense when his life was in danger and when he was in fear of his life. Because I've done so many stories about black people who tried to use stand your ground and it never, ever went in their favor. Even when it seemingly looked like it could have, it never does. Now, can someone please point out to me where that has worked out for somebody? Let me put it this way. If it has worked out for black people, it's more so in the minor rather than in the majority. I'll put it that way. But I'm going to go ahead and read this article that was posted March 6th, 2022 on abcnews.go.com. A judge scheduled an April trial for and this is their words, biracial man charged with murder in the 2020 shooting of a teenage girl on a Georgia highway. Defense attorneys for Marc Wilson says he fired his gun in self-defense the night of June 14th, 2020, when a pickup truck tried to run his car off the road as people inside yelled racist slurs. A passenger in the truck, 17-year-old Haley Hutchinson, died after being struck by a bullet. Superior Court Judge Ronnie Thompson scheduled jury selection in Wilson's trial to begin April 18th, the Statesboro Herald reported. The judge Friday denied a legal motion by defense attorneys to dismiss the charges based on Wilson's contention that he was defending his life. There is no evidence that defendant's vehicle was rammed by the truck, Thompson said in a written order. The judge added, nor is there evidence that defendant's vehicle suffered damage from gunfire or objects thrown from the truck. See what they're doing here? This man was the victim of racial taunts and slurs, and he was defending himself, and he's the one that is on trial for murder. Like, look what they put him on trial for murder. They're not trying to give him no type of immunity. They're not trying to let him do the stand your ground thing like I knew they wouldn't. So they're trying to make it, they wanted to go to trial. Mind you, he's been in jail since this happened. He's been locked up since this happened. I think he's only 23, if I'm not mistaken, now, which means he was around 21 when this happened. Wilson of Sharpsburg was released from jail on a $100,000 bond Friday, so he was just released after being in jail for 2 years, just about. He had been jailed for more than 20 months since his arrest on charges of felony murder and aggravated assault following the shooting. The judge ordered Wilson to remain at his father's home under house arrest pending trial. Hutchinson of Reedsville died at a hospital after being shot on a bypass that circles the city of Statesboro in southeast Georgia. Defense attorneys say Wilson, the son of a black father and white mother, and his white girlfriend, had just picked up food from a Taco Bell at about 12:30 a.m. when a pickup truck pulled alongside Wilson, much smaller Ford Focus. Keep in mind what they're doing here. Like I said, I did not know that this man was biracial because they did not lead with that when all of this went down. I even tried to find articles that went back to that time when this first happened to see if they did, but I couldn't find any because they might have scrubbed it from the internet. But look at what they're making sure to point out. This man has a black father, he has a white mother, and he has a white girlfriend. And they are making sure to lead with that he's biracial. To all the people who out there who are biracial, keep in mind that the same thing that is happening to this guy right now can happen to you. Because as you can see, this guy clearly he couldn't pass. He definitely could not pass for white. Honestly. And that's why we try to tell people who are biracial, or of mixed ethnicity, that you may see yourself as one way, but society is going to see you as another way. And that another way is the one that they're going to lean heavily on. As you can see right here, this is a perfect example of that. I'll never forget, a couple years ago, I was on a Facebook group, and I don't know how I ended up in there, but I got into it with a person who was mixed or biracial, however you want to put it. And they tried to tell me that, they so-called have it better, or they're less likely to get hemmed up by the police because they're biracial and they're not black or dark skinned. I said that was that self-hate. And that was a couple years ago. That was a few years ago. That was actually way before I think I started doing commentaries on my channel. I'll never forget that conversation. We went back and forth for at least an hour about that. I wonder what they're thinking or feeling right now. They probably think the same thing. You want to know what's so crazy about it too? This wasn't a young person who I was going back and forth with. This was a person who was, at least at the time, in their 40s. Which means at the time, I was still in my 20s. So you do the math. During a 3-day pretrial hearing that ended Friday, Wilson's attorney said young white men in a truck yelled racial slurs at the couple while the driver tried to run Wilson off the road before Wilson fired his gun. They probably called her the N-word lover too. The law in Georgia says there's no duty to retreat, no duty to pull over on the side of the road, no duty to call police, no duty to pray to God, no duty to do anything but stand your ground and exercise a level of force to include deadly force, says Francis Johnson, one of Wilson's attorneys. Emma Rigdon, Wilson's girlfriend at the time of the shooting, testified in court that the truck swerved at Wilson's car, putting them in fear of being run off the road as passengers inside the pickup hung out the windows. But Rigdon said she did not hear anyone using racial slurs. Now listen to that. This is his. They said that was his girlfriend at the time, so I'm guessing or assuming that that is his ex. She says that they were being almost ran off the road. She acknowledges that, but she says she does not remember them saying any racial slurs. Keep in mind, this, I'm assuming ex of his, is a PC woman. And she claims she doesn't remember them saying racial slurs. Seems to me she got on code right quick. Because now, without her saying that she didn't remember hearing that, that doesn't work really well in his favor. That was because she would be the star witness because she was there with him. She was the only one there in the car with him. Prosecutors noted Hutchison was shot through the truck's rear window, saying that shows the pickup truck wasn't chasing Wilson's car. WTOC TV reported. All you got to do is take your foot off the gas, Prosecutor Barkley Black told the judge. I'm not talking about slamming on brakes and going the other way. Just take your foot off the gas and let them go, and all of this is over. Basically, what they're trying to say is they're trying to make it seem like he was the one that, while not instigating it, he was the one that was determined to go for the kill after what's happened. You know how like I do stories about with PC and their road rage and how if someone cuts them off and they'll follow you, that's what they're basically trying to say he did. But they were the ones that were taunting him and like was kicking all of this stuff. How was it that they went from him almost being pushed off the road to him being the one that was at fault for firing or doing what he felt he had to do? Like I said, in America, black people are not allowed to defend themselves. We supposed to just roll over and die, according to them. Excuse me. A new judge was assigned to the case last month after Wilson's attorney sought to have the original judge recused after he had Johnson jailed for contempt of court last year following a dispute in the courtroom. An outside judge reviewed the case and determined Judge Michael Muldrow, who had the case initially, did nothing wrong. Still, Thompson was assigned to replace Muldrew to ensure both sides felt they could have a fair trial, if you want to call it that. I'm already seeing where this is headed. They trying to make this thing as one-sided as they possibly can. I don't know how this is going to end for this guy. I mean, they say he's out of jail right now, and that the trial is set for April. I believe they've already done, or they're currently right now during the jury selection. So I'm gonna try to see if I can stay on top of this as much as I can. They don't have a date set. They just said that it's set for April. But yeah, to all the biracial people out there, don't think that just because you are of mixed ethnicity that this cannot happen to you, or that you can't have a nigga moment. This is his right here. Unfortunately for him, it's not going in his favor in the sense of it should have, considering they tried to run him off the road and could have killed him. And when he tries to defend himself, he's the one that gets in court and charged with these felonious crimes. I keep telling people, stand your ground does not work for black people. And clearly, as we can see, it doesn't work for biracial people either. But we know who it does work for, who it has always worked for, and will continue to work for. Y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you are new, make sure you hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.